Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield back in Las Vegas talking about the big opening R.U.N, or R.U.N, and the man who was there to see it on opening night is Mike Weatherford. How you doing?
Doing great.
Okay, everybody wants to know.
It's worth seeing primarily by teenage boys who go see the Fast and Furious movies, and by people who are interested in technical theater and the possibilities of what can be done on the stage. For everyone else, I think they're going to go away shaking their head, if not just saying that this thing is insane. That part of it works for about 15 minutes. It's really front-loaded. Just to back up a little bit, I guess when you go in, especially if you plan to review something, the basic question is what is it? If you go to a Neil Simon comedy, you're not going to apply the same standards you would to David Mamet. You have to establish kind of genre boundaries, right? But you go into this, and the first kind of question is, well, what are they trying to do here? Is this are they trying to put a movie on stage? Is this a stunt show with a few connecting scenes? Is this theater? So it ends up kind of being a frustrated middle and a partial yes to all those questions, but it's a very awkward mix, shall we say.
They've basically got it wrong. Is that what you're saying? Because this was sold as a motorbike show. Let's talk about that for a start. How is it interesting to see 90 minutes of motorbikes? Are they on all the way through, or do they come and go?
They're kind of the big finale, which probably getting ahead of the punchline a little bit here, but they're kind of emblematic of what's troublesome about this. They've kind of given you a semblance of a story to follow, and the beginning of it, you really see what they were trying to do. You're kind of a live movie, a kind of action film on stage, and the first 15 minutes or so, you're like, okay, the hero's already fought the villain and defeated the villain, and now we actually have these cinematic credits projected on stage. And now where do they go from here? And that becomes the problem. And to get back to the motorcycles, that's kind of the big finale, the big showdown at the end. But by then, you're kind of like invested enough in what little there is of a story that you're like, really, this is all going to be settled by guys in motorcycles jumping on ramps. So, and it's kind of cool in itself, but it does not have the context that they wanted it to have. There was a hard push, and it was very seriously considered to not put the Cirque name on this, that they didn't want to confuse their brand and their kind of family-friendly image with this R-rated, at times kind of a weird and violent thing. But Cirque was apparently proud of it enough that they decided to go with that affiliation. They think this shows they're extending their brand and their image.
You said they're R-rated. You mean this is adult content that isn't suitable for children?
People let kids 11, 12 years old watch The Walking Dead and things like that, but responsible parents, it does have rough language, and the scene that everybody is going to be talking about is a torture scene. And I was watching it, and the guy who plays the villain who gets the tables turned on him, I go, I've seen this guy before, and I've seen so many shows, I had to look it up later, or actually I asked him in the lobby during the party after the show. It turns out he was one of the cast of a show called Freaks that played in a 130-seat O'Shea's Theater back in 2009, and I watched him get strung up and lifted off the ground by meat hooks through the skin. And in this show, it's all, of course, woven into the plot, but you see him similar things where, he gets a drill up the nose, and there's some dislocation. I don't want to spoil everything, but that's the part where people are going to walk out of this show going, WTF,
Wow, that sounds a bit much. So this is a departure for Cirque du Soleil. We've gone from beautiful people dancing semi-naked in water from O to moving along to a bit of sexy shenanigans in Zumanity to downright obscene 2019 millennial movie game, outrageous movie stuff. This is a huge departure for Cirque du Soleil.
Part of me, seriously warn anybody from going to see it, and part of me wants to go back and see it again tomorrow. So I'm really torn. I really like the swing for the fences aspect of what they've done. I think some of the problems are fixable. Some of the problems are really more intimidating. It's human nature. If you give people a little bit of a story, they're going to want to hear the rest of it, or they're going to want to hear more. But the way they've done this, it's written by Paul Rodriguez, who does, Grindhouse and the Machete movies, and kind of, revels in this kind of drive-in trashiness. All the storytelling is kind of limited to voiceover, recorded narration, or comic book word balloons that are projected on the screen. There's no live actors on the stage. And so that's a huge limitation. And another huge limitation is that, it is an original story. And on one hand, you respect them for that. And, you're like, all these Broadway and West End shows that are taken from movies, that's so cheesy. But then you realize that if they had gone out and got a Marvel comic branding, that would be a huge head start for the audience. And when you throw lines like, difficult is my middle name, if it's Bruce Willis saying that, people kind of laugh and they get it. But if it's just this new character they've been introduced to that they don't care about, you're going, is this funny, or are we supposed to take this seriously? It's very arch and very over the top. It's not obviously witty. It's not obviously funny.
Okay, I'm going to get to the technicality of this show in a minute, because that's interesting. I hear the video screens are remarkable. We'll say some nice things. But first, I asked you a question a few weeks ago, which was, do we need another Cirque du Soleil show? And if we do, putting it on at the Luxor's a risk because it's at the end of the strip. Who's going to find this show, and do we need this show, in summary?
Well, if we need it at all, I kind of agree with their logic. We did not need another Zarkana, which was kind of another rehash of Mystere. And, so you have 2 or 3 shows all on the strip, kind of splitting the market. Now, this was a really bold swing for the fences attempt to do something else. I'm not sure in itself it's going to work. I get the plan. There's this esports arena at the Luxor, and I think they can market this to older teens, young millennials, and the parents who bring them. But I just don't know if even those folks are going to respond to it.
Okay, let me ask you some direct questions. I'm a 40-year-old man. Do I need to go and see R.U.N.?
Only if you're interested in technical theater, or if you're interested in kind of hybrid.
Okay, let's do yes or no answers, because Las Vegas has got 7,000 shows. We're very busy, lots to do. Should I go and see R.U.N.? I've got one night when I can see a show in Las Vegas.
That would not be first choice. I'd have to say no on that.
Okay, I'm a 60-year-old lady. Should I go and see R.U.N.?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'm a 40-year-old woman on Hindu, I think you call them bachelorette party. Shall we go and see it?
Not 40-year-old.
Okay, so basically this is 15 to 25. Is there an age restriction on this? It sounds like it's adult, but then again, 15-year-olds in 2019, 2020 probably act like 25-year-olds.
They have talked about that, yeah, and obviously those Fast and Furious movies, it's not just teens. There's, us guys tend to quit. A guy watching an action film, that there's no age ceiling on that. Right. It's kind of how it's like, well, what are we watching a stunt show, or are we watching a story? And I think whatever age you are, you're going to be frustrated by that. I kind of thought of the Addams Family movie where Wednesday goes to summer camp and doesn't want to be in the pageant because she says it's puerile and under-dramatized with no sense of Aristotelian unities.
Okay, here's my question to you, Mike. How do you spend $50 million in 2019 and get a show this wrong? I don't understand.
I'm not sure it's the short answer is by starting from the ground up and all that R&D they had to do and try to research these repeatable stunts. I'm not sure it's totally unfixable. There are, like I said, huge structural challenges, but there's basic things where you could kind of give them notes.
Can I interrupt, though? Here's my problem with that. I've worked in theatre for 20 years. I don't understand why you would risk having a second bite of the cherry when you get it wrong. Surely, in 2019, with Twitter, with my YouTube channel, the worst thing you need is bad publicity at the beginning. You surely would aim to get it right from the start. You wouldn't risk putting it on badly and then working on it, fixing it, and hoping that people forget the initial reviews. It's 2019. What a stupid thing for Cirque du Soleil to do.
I agree 100%. That's an institutional thing that must be really baked in at Cirque. But, even 15 years ago or whenever Zumanity opened, they had the luxury of fair or not fair, of charging paying customers and fixing it on its feet in front of paying audiences. And gradually it got better and better. But you made an excellent point there that you don't have that luxury anymore with all this social media.
Just unbelievable. All right, let's say some nice things. I hear the video screens are sensational.
It is. The video is very cool. The only question is whether there's too much of it. Like how much of this, I know they have to reset things back.
So it's just relentless, is it?
Yeah, and even more relentless is the music, and it's by a known film composer, Tyler Bates, and it's cool in places, but it's just deafeningly loud, and it's nonstop. At some point, it needs to go down to underscore and let the natural sounds of the stage come out, or even the fake sounds as somebody was punching a drum pad for the punches, to try to make you hear the punches. But after a while, when one sense is overwhelmed, the others kind of tune out. And after a while, it's just so loud and so deafening that your eyes kind of shut down on what you're watching.
You're not selling this. I wonder whether Master Bates' idea was to sort of do the millennial thing of distract, opposed to allow people to worry about what's going on in front of their eyes, just have the noise so loud that hopefully people don't notice how bad the show is.
He told a colleague in the press day that he was surprised at how forefront his music
was. Oh, really? That reminds me of Elton John when he went to see Aida on Broadway, his musical, and he said, "No, I didn't like it." And you think, no, that's probably not the thing to say.
I guess he can't complain about that, but it's like, hey, I have a bigger role in this than I thought I would have. But
do you know what I don't understand about what you've told me is if their business model is young men who are going to a sports bar, do they really think young men who go to a sports bar or sports book are interested in going to see a show in a theatre? I don't think they are. If that was the case, surely there'd be more shows on Broadway and in the West End aimed at millennial men.
Very good point, and I guess that's where this experiment will play out. I guess that's what we'll find out. That's the part that you have to respect them for attempting.
I don't respect them. Do you know why I don't respect them? Is it stupid? If you know something doesn't work, you don't make it with $50 million on the off chance that theory is wrong. What you have to do is look at the market and work out why shows sell. Why is O the biggest success of Cirque du Soleil? Because it's beautiful and it's magnificent and it's perfect for couples. That works. I don't think young men at 22 are going to go in a theatre for love nor money.
I don't know. On Broadway, obviously, it's become daughters. From Wicked on to Frozen, it's become marketplace geared to young.
Well, you can't sell ice to the Eskimos, can you? You can't get people to come to something when they're not willing to come. So it's a bizarre move that they think they're going to change Vegas by putting on a show for people who don't want to come. I hope it is a success. We never like to see shows fail, but to have a concept of a show aimed at people who don't go to the theatre. If young men were going to the theatre, there'd be a ton of shows for them. They're simply not going. That's a fact.
To think you can change that, I guess you could say, well, somebody's got to try it to prove for sure that
either that or they're incredibly deluded and arrogant, which could also be true knowing how Cirque du Soleil operate. How interesting. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you didn't like it.
It really is, in a way, indescribable and not like anything else that's out there. And good or bad, a lot of people want to say that I want to see something different. I don't want to see the same old thing. Well, this certainly delivers on that front.
Indescribable and like nothing you've seen before. These seem to be my reviews for my penis on certain websites. I don't know. This is ridiculous. To me, to put on a show that you're going to fix once it's opened is ludicrous. Cirque du Soleil should be ashamed as far as I'm concerned. It's a ridiculous, outdated philosophy to think you can put on a show and hope that it gets better when you get it right. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And for that, I can't see a reason to go and see this show. And I'm disappointed that they've let down their audience. They should have got it right. They should have got it perfect. And they should have put on a show that people want to see. I have not heard one good word about R.U.N. from anybody who has seen it, and I've probably spoke to 25, 30 people in the last 24 hours. Unbelievable to me that I can't find anyone who loved it. That's depressing.
I would say the reaction in the live audience, of course, which was on opening night, stuffed with friendlies and people affiliated with the show. But even then in the lobby, it was kind of divisive. It was like, I think it really is the old cliche of you love it or hate it.
Yeah, but you'd never trust anybody on a press night. These are all sycophants that are given a free ticket and free wine to say they love it. Privately in the car park, they might tell you the truth. You know that, Mike. Come on.
And even in that situation, when you get people that don't,
I don't know. What a shame. So the horrible question I have to ask you at the end, which is the most important of this 20-minute chat, is how many stars out of 5?
Right now, I guess I qualified 3, hoping that it's kind of a pre-screened audience that understands what they're walking into. Well, my 3 would just be for the fact that it's not boring.
The difficulty they're going to have with TripAdvisor, and certainly our review, I know our preview is number 1 at the moment on Google, and I'm sure this will go to the top very soon, is fighting this negativity. And the general public's reaction to this show is 1 star on TripAdvisor. You've given it a generous 3, and you're certainly not glowing about it. I don't know what they're thinking in putting this on in such bad shape. They should hold their head in shame. You don't do that in 2019. You have to get it right. I've got to ask you another awkward, horrible question, but nevertheless, it's relevant. Is this the worst Cirque du Soleil show in town at the moment?
Yes, at the moment.
Oy vey. Okay, Mike Weatherford, thank you so much for your honesty and for your time. I think this is going to have a ton of reaction, and we thank you for going to see it and your brutal honesty. We always appreciate it. You are the only guy I respect and admire who knows what they're talking about in Las Vegas. Mike Weatherford, thank you for your time.
Well, yeah, I hope I wasn't giving out too mixed signals, but so does the show.